a lot of times you don't really know what you're investing in, right? Like
Yeah.
doing that first thing, going out, just trying it. I raised $10 million my first year doing it. I'd never done it before.
What is a fund manager, and how much money does a fund manager make, and how do you become one?
I just saw all these younger guys that were making so much money online, from their phones. So, we've done Khloe Kardashian, we've done Cardi B, all these different celebrities. That those are the big ones. But every month we put together smaller campaigns.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today, our guest is a serial entrepreneur and investor who built an $87 million company, sold it, and now manages multi-million-dollar funds while helping brands explode on social media. He raised millions without an MBA. Please welcome Justin Friestadt. Did I get that right? Friestadt?
Freistadt. I'm still trying to figure it out too, man. So no worries.
All good, man. So one thing, one of the first things that I was reading over, a little bit about you, and the quote that I was given was, "Today is the tomorrow you were worried about yesterday." What's that mean to you?
What it means is, and I think it comes to traditional goal setting, the way that we look into the future for the things that we want, and we get so caught up in the future, or we're so stuck in the past that we can't even work towards the future, and we completely forget about the moment today. So I've kind of rewired this. It's something I struggled with forever, right? It's like you're not happy because you haven't hit the goal, then you hit the goal, and then you're not happy because you need another one. It's just an
Yeah.
endless cycle of completely forgetting that the 24 hours you get to live today is the only thing you should be focused on. And I think that's what that quote kind of embodies, is just being present in the process. And if you can't enjoy your daily process, you definitely won't enjoy the target when you hit it.
Once the thing that you've been worrying about finally comes, it ends up not being that big of a deal anyway. And I think you're right about that, being present in the moment. Sometimes very difficult to do, especially with, dealing with these big numbers that you've that your team has told me about, 80 million, 10 million, 20 million here, that's a lot to worry about. so,
Yeah. I mean, each problem, when you solve it, just leads you to a bigger one. I mean, the feelings are always the same. Like the imposter syndrome never goes away. Like all these things that people think are going to change when you get X to X, it just presents you with the next set of targets, problems, feelings, and you just grow with your capacity to deal with that. So it looks more impressive as you get further up, or it seems more stressful. But I actually think it's less stressful now to deal with these big number problems than when I was trying to figure out how to deal with small problems. It's more of a skill set than how many zeros there are.
So fair enough. So tell me a little bit, about what you do. From what I gathered, my team did a little bit of research on you, and from what I gathered, fund manager, is that an accurate title to describe you as?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm more on the relationship, investor relations, capital raising side of things.
Okay.
Every fund that I'm involved in, I have partners that have opposite skill sets of me, and that's how I've structured everything. Even our marketing business, back when we were in the food business, I've never done anything alone. I've always had partners.
Okay. And so a fund manager, right? We'll use that as a term to describe you. I guess this might be a loaded question, but what is a fund manager, and how much money does a fund manager make, and how do you become one?
Yeah. So and this is a limiting belief that I had that got shattered. I thought you had to, go to college, get a degree, then get an MBA, then go be an intern at Goldman Sachs, do your time on Wall Street to get into this world. And then
Yeah.
I met a $1 billion fund manager who had no degrees, and it completely shattered my limited beliefs about this. So really, anybody can start a fund the same way that anybody can start an LLC or a business. It's just more
Okay.
complicated. There's a lot more compliance around it. There's a lot more moving pieces and things you have to put in place. But it's really just structuring an entity that can receive other people's money and then either go buy businesses, go buy real estate, invest fund to fund. There's a lot of funds out there that don't even manage the money. They just allocate it to asset managers. So a fund manager, to answer your question, what I do is I manage the relationships on the way in. So get on a call with somebody who's interested in our investment or our offer, our deal, whatever it is, and make sure they're an accredited investor, because we're 506C. We only work with accredited.
Mm-hmm.
Do they meet the minimum? Are they accredited? Then we do a private placement memorandum. Then it's a KYC. So you're taking them through a process to
Yeah.
onboard them compliantly into the investment. I manage that whole process.
So you're basically in sales trying to find investors.
Yeah,
And it,
100%. That's 90% of the job is no different than if you're selling cars, or like I was in door-to-door sales for 10 years. Well,
yeah.
all I was looking for was a more lucrative, better vehicle to put my what I thought in my head was an 8-figure skill set, but I was in a 6-figure vehicle. So,
Opportunity, where the opportunity that you have in front of you. I tell people that all the time, man. Like people with really good skills don't have the opportunity as like, I don't know how to describe it any better, but I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. You
yeah,
know, just it's not so much money, how it's not about how much money you make, but it's more about the opportunity that you have in front of you and where it can take you.
right.
And, door to door sales could take you pretty far, but there might be some limits to that, until you find a place to put your skills in. So did you just wake up one day and decide to become a fund manager, or how'd you get into that?
No, I'd been dreaming about it for a long, long time. I mean, the entire time I was in door-to-door sales, and we're building a direct sales business, and then I was building the teams. I was looking for leverage, right? It was like I maxed out how much money I could make as an individual salesperson, and then I had to
Yeah.
build teams to get leverage. And the whole time, I mean, yes, I read sales books and all that stuff, but I spent most of my time out on the road listening to audiobooks about private equity, about real estate, about trading stocks, about just infinite banking, life insurance, like anything money related,
Yeah.
investment philosophies. Like one of my favorite books is The Lifestyle Investor from Justin Donald. And I'm taking in all this information, dreaming about, being that someday. But I also had that limited belief that it wasn't possible for me because I just didn't think I could get into that world because I didn't qualify. It's almost
Yeah.
like, a lawyer that like someone who wants to be a lawyer but didn't go to law school and, just thinks like, you can't do it, and you probably can't in that industry. Well, in the fund world, anybody can do it.
Really? Hmm. So what was your first fund? Like, you finally figured out how to start one, I guess, and you got probably a hold of the right people. I would imagine that's probably your first step. You met the right people, right?
Yeah, that was 100% of how it happened. Was going to events, masterminds. Like when we were exiting the food business, I was like, I wasn't necessarily looking for this. It was a dream, but I was going out to events and masterminds just seeking information, like what's going on out in the marketplace, who's doing what, and I was meeting all these people that were doing incredible things, and I was looking for a way to take my sales skill set and move into a bigger vehicle, more lucrative, where I could make 7 figures instead of 6 every year.
Yeah.
And that's when I met my partner in the first fund, who had a fund to fund relationship. It was a brand new startup fund out of a relationship he had, a guy who was a fund manager at a $5 billion firm that was going to give us a shot. He's like, you start your fund, come fund to fund with us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I needed to hear. I was like,
Okay.
okay, I'm in. I wasn't even offered anything. And this is a great lesson. I just hit the phones, hit the road. I was the first investor in that fund. And then I started calling people and raising capital without even being asked or invited to. And after a month of bringing in a couple 6-figure investors, my partner goes, hey, do you want to come in on this? I mean, so that's how I landed my first fund manager job, was by doing the work for free when it wasn't even asked for, and showing and demonstrating value to someone who needed me.
Yeah. Giving value before asking. It makes it hard to say no after that.
Yeah.
you know?
A lot of times you don't really know what you're investing in, right? Like
Yeah.
doing that first thing, going out, just trying it. I raised $10 million my first year doing it. I'd never done it before. Right.
So
And then,
what was your first project? What were you raising money for?
so we had two. We had a trading fund, which was swing trading equities in one segment of it, and then trading currencies in another segment.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then we had the private equity fund on the other side, which was, we didn't have any track record. We were brand new. I mean, so that's why we wanted fund to fund partners. Like, hey, we're going to take this capital and we're going to give it to a $5 billion firm that has a massive quant trading desk and research analysts, and they're better off managing the money. So we were leveraging their track record to get started. Same thing with the private equity side. Like, we could go fund to fund with them. Like, if they were raising $500 million for SpaceX, they would give us like 3 million of it, right? And
Yeah.
then we're giving opportunity to the regular accredited investor who's got no shot at the cap table of a company like SpaceX, but we were able to do that in a fund to fund model.
Gotcha. So, kind of circling back now that we know a little bit more about fund managers and how they work, how much money can a fund manager make, or what would you say the average fund manager makes?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a huge range from nothing. I mean, there's a lot, a lot of funds that aren't raising any capital out there that are trying, right? And
Sure.
then you've got people that have multi-billion-dollar funds that are taking, a 1% management fee every year that are making millions of dollars, whether even if they just sit on their hands. So there's a
Yeah.
huge range. I've been compensated in different ways. It's different structures for different types of businesses and different fund setups. In a trading fund, we have something called a high watermark, which
Yeah.
means that the fund general partner can only participate in the upside of zero. So if we have a down month, we don't make anything, and then we have to have a positive month back to the high watermark before we can participate in upside. And
Gotcha.
then we
That's
take a
fair.
percentage of the profits, right?
Yeah.
Real
Okay.
estate deal, totally different. I mean, you have an acquisition fee on the front to pay the expenses, pay the fund managers for their time putting the deal together, raising the money, and then you'll take a percentage of the exit, maybe an annual management fee. So there's a lot of ways to set it up. Where you can make in the fund world. I mean, seven figures is something that can happen fast.
Gotcha. Okay. So $1 million or more, pretty not maybe not the average, but something to aspire to. I mean, wouldn't be hard to accomplish. Okay. So tell me a little bit more about there's a food company that you're involved with that, from what I can tell, it took you 10 years to build a $10 million company. And then you pulled off a $20 million company in just 12 months. Now that's not normal. So what the hell happened there? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah. So and this is why I'm just so adamant about the vehicle you choose being the most important thing, right? We had a direct sales company. We've got cold storage. We've got trucks on the road. We've got tons of employees. We've got salespeople. We've got a thin margin product. All these things that can go wrong in supply chain. So you're managing so many systems, so many employees, so many moving pieces on thin
Yeah,
margins. It's very difficult to have the capital you need to spend on marketing to expand. Like it's a very difficult business being the food business, right? So,
sure.
um, I built that company with my dad, and he's great on the ops side, running things, and I'm all on the sales side. And it just took a long time to scale it for one reason. Well, two reasons: thin margins, and nobody wakes up in the morning. This was back this is 10, 20 years ago. Nobody was waking up Googling food delivery, like the Blue Aprons of the world, Amazon, Instacart, like none of that had come out yet. So
Yeah,
we were kind of pioneering that, and we had to kind of create the market. So it's just a huge lesson of like if I was going into a business today, it would be something people Google. Like
sure.
I have my HVAC broke, I Google HVAC. Like that's easy to generate leads.
Sure.
Very difficult to generate leads in the food business back then. It
Yeah.
got a lot easier when the Blue Aprons came in, when Amazon and everybody started doing food delivery because they're spending money on the marketing, putting people in the market for food delivery. All of a sudden, it got easier for us. So it's
Yeah.
counterintuitive. You think competition's coming into your space and they're going to take business from you. Sometimes they're actually advertising for you.
So were you guys doing food delivery like to your house, or was it like B2B?
To the home, and we were doing it in bulk from farms, the highest quality stuff you can get. So, and we sold it in 6 month increments. So they needed a big freezer, which they buy from us in a membership model. That's actually how the company was profitable, was off the appliances. We sold grills, cutlery, cookware. There's just no margin in the food, so we had to bundle these things, and people would buy a certain amount of appliances from us. We would discount the food basically to our cost. So we really weren't making money on the food. We made the margin in the appliances, and by giving those customers a discount on the food that they were bought into, that's where the recurring revenue model was really sticky. And that's
Gotcha.
another big principle. I'll never be in a business again that doesn't have recurring revenue.
I believe in that wholeheartedly. I love recurring revenue.
Yep.
So it would be hard to wake up every single day starting at zero. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's most
So
sales jobs unless you have commission on a product where somebody stays.
yeah, yeah. That's my business. That's what we focus on too, recurring revenue. So, um, so you it took you 10 years to build that, and then after that, you guys started or helped scale another company to 20 million in just 12 months. What happened there?
That was the first fund that I launched with Cody Kearns. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it's very different, right? I mean, we're talking at Heartland Foods a $2,500 to $7,500 sale. You know, how many of those do you have to make versus when you're raising capital at $100,000 minimum? You know, we brought in 60 investors, had crazy performance in the first year, and that's how you get to 20 million quick. It was not something we expected, but you know, when you deliver a quality product and then people tell their friends and then it starts to cascade. You know, referrals are the lifeblood of any business because it's a zero cost versus all the other types of marketing. So, and that's how
Yeah.
Heartland Food was too. We were over 50% of our business was referrals.
Well, I know there's a lot of money in food delivery. Maybe because there was a company down here in Florida. I can't remember the name of them, but they just sold for $3 billion, and all they did was deliver food. You know, and I think they might have done more B2B stuff like grocery stores and restaurants and that sort of thing. But there's a lot of money in it, which is interesting. And then the Cody Kearns, for people who are not familiar with him, how'd you find that relationship and how'd you guys end up working together?
Yeah. So when I was trying to figure out my next moves, when we knew we were going to be selling Heartland,
Yeah.
I just saw all these younger guys that were making so much money online, you know, from their phones. And I was
Yeah.
doing something the complete opposite, like in the trenches, in person.
Hustling hard every day.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, I got to see what's going on here. I heard one guy on a podcast. I met with him. I hired him to consult with me to start building my brand. I had 700 followers on Instagram. This was in late 2021. And he was like, I'm throwing a boot camp down in Miami with another guy. We're co-hosting it. And that was Cody. And at that point, I thought I was going to do a health business, health coaching, and then all of the health products we sold at Heartland. I established a relationship with that distributor for a new business. I called it Top Tier Human. I was just going to create, you know, healthy people, right?
Yeah.
So I was selling water systems, air purifiers, really any health oriented product, and then, you know, weight loss coaching, fitness, all that stuff. And I went and paid for a speaking spot on their stage and, you know, the front row ticket, whatever. Sold some products from the stage that weekend. And then we went out on a yacht in Miami for the bonus day, which is the VIPs. And that's when Cody and I established our relationship. I hired him to build my brand at Kearns Marketing, which I'm now, you know, partnered with them as well. And that's kind of how things cascade, right? It's just being in the room, just seeking, you know, to meet people and look for opportunity.
So speaking of, you know, these events and stuff like that, networking events, right? What's the most amount of money you've ever paid to go to a networking event?
Most I ever paid is probably like 15 grand.
15 grand? Yeah. Was it worth it?
It was, yeah. It was a speaking spot, you know, the front row seat. I think there were about 500 in that room. But
Yeah.
it's usually the relationships with the other speakers, like the value of being in that back room. You know, I've had the pleasure of sharing stages with some really big names, but it's the ability to establish a relationship with them because you're just getting a different level of access when you speak on a stage.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've paid for a few. I think probably the most I ever spent was 10 grand on a seat somewhere, and it wasn't so much about the event itself or what you learned at the event, but it was more about who you met at the event and the relationship that you built after, just like you said. And those have paid dividends, you know.
Yeah, key relationships. You know, sometimes you'll spend 5-10 grand, nothing will happen at all. But
Yeah,
you only need to be right one time. You know, if you do that 10 times and you spend 50 grand, 100 grand, but you get the one relationship, which I had that experience. Somebody that shared their platform with me after we both spoke at the same place. And we
yeah,
ended up raising $3 million together over 2 weeks after doing one show. That made it all worth it, right? So it's definitely a game of blind faith. And I think that's what's so hard and why so few people actually execute on this is just most people need to know the ROI in advance for them to take action. And that's just not how it works at the highest levels.
Well, yeah, it's not how it works at the highest levels, but I also think there's what they call them grifting, right? Grifters. There's a lot of people online right now. You don't know, 10 grand for a seat, 2,500 bucks, 359 for this course. I'll change your life. There's so much, I don't know, spam and scam out there. I'll call it.
Yeah.
How can you how do you decipher the real ones from the fake ones? Before you spent 15 grand on that seat, how confident were you that you're spending it with the right people and you weren't just gonna, lose 15 G's?
I wasn't, and that's the whole point. I'm not scared to lose money. I don't put money on a pedestal. That's the difference, right? And
Yeah.
and knowing that 99% of people who make their money from speaking on a stage are full of shit,
Yeah.
did it anyways.
Hmm.
Like you're gonna have to go in knowing that most of the time you're gonna waste money, you're gonna lose money. Most things you try in marketing aren't gonna work. It's like, but again, you're just looking for one of them to work,
Yeah.
right? And
You just
if
need
you
one
look
to
at,
be
it's
all
all
over.
about like the lens of statistics, right? I use this example all the time. There's something like 75,000 households in the U.S. that have a $25 million household net worth or more, right? It's like 0.00001% of the population. It's super tiny. If you look
Yeah.
at those stats and say, oh, it's just, it'll never happen for me, like you're right. Or you can look at it and say, oh, wow, like thousands and thousands of other people figured this out. I can be the next one.
Yeah. I'll tell you, that's funny that you say that. So how long you been in Vegas?
Like 2.5 years.
2.5 years? Okay. So I grew up in Vegas, right? And there's like money in Vegas. You see all sorts of celebrities come through here and there, but you know, and there are business owners and there's people with money out there. There's people who are doing well. But I wouldn't say it's as common as it is in other areas of the country. So once I moved down here to West Palm Beach, I was like, oh man, there's rich people in Vegas. There's people making money in Vegas. But then you come down here and it's a whole nother level of money. And, being a millionaire is like common. Like if you're not a millionaire, you're not, you're in the minority group. Because you have so many homes out here that are, selling for 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars. You see Bentleys, Ferraris, you see everything down here. It's ridiculous, a whole nother level of money. And it's and that's part of the reason why I wanted to move down here too, was just to get in those circles around those people where, you know, you having, the 20, 30 million dollars, like you said, or the $25 million household net worth is not, uncommon down here. And so I think, just getting in the right circles is the right place to be. But my whole point is Vegas, it's uncommon, and here it's very common, and it's mostly uncommon wherever you go. So it's just interesting, I thought.
Yeah, but one of the key things in my mind for success is doing what you did. You left your hometown. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like you max out your growth in an area, and then the hardest and easiest thing to do is like you got to move to a new city and re-baseline, build a brand new network from that new baseline. And I just think that's one of the biggest growth hacks there is.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, people who stay in the hometown, you know exactly where they're going to be. You know what I mean? I'll just leave it like that. And yeah, getting out of your comfort zone and going someplace that you don't know anybody and you have to force yourself to get out there and network is probably kind of what you're doing. And also, Vegas is a great spot for events and that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of money moving to Vegas, especially from California. So I'm sure you're finding a lot of good connections out there as well.
Yeah.
What Where are you from?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. That's a weird spot to be born. I don't think I've ever met anybody from Washington, D.C.
Yep, I was born in a hospital downtown, right in the city, and I grew up in Maryland and then moved down to Virginia. But I was in that DMV area my entire life until 2 years ago.
Wow. And then why'd you pick Vegas?
So I was on a nationwide tour to figure out where I wanted to live. It was going to be a zero tax state. It was going to be Florida, Texas, Tennessee, or Nevada.
Okay.
And for me, coming from DC, like one of the things I looked at was the politics. Like I was so tired of it. I just wanted to be somewhere that had extremely low voter turnout, not a conservative or liberal government. Like I wanted libertarian, like
Yeah, yeah,
completely.
yeah.
Like I don't know if there's any government that stays out of your life more than Nevada. And then the traffic around the big city that I was used to, I couldn't stand. 50-minute drive just to get to a restaurant. Vegas is, because of the bowl and the mountains. First of all, it's beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just so compact. You're never going to drive more than 30 minutes, like ever in Vegas.
Yep.
And I can have my house in the mountains facing the wilderness. I feel completely off the grid, but I'm 25 minutes from all that action if I want it. So
Yeah.
to me, it was the all encompassing, best mix of everything. I hated humidity. So Florida and Texas, like
Yeah, I
out,
didn't check that bucket list. Yeah, it's funny. Everybody that I've met who's moved to the West Coast is because they're tired of the humidity. And me growing up on the West Coast, moving to the East Coast is like, dude, I just want to see some freaking water. Like, you know what I mean? Like in Vegas, it rains like maybe 4 inches a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about average. So, and I wanted to live on the beach. So now I live down here on the beach. So, but that's cool. So I was reading, I found a couple articles on you from HITC. Was that Health Incorporate? What's the name of that company? I can't remember.
Yep. So that's the previous name, which was Healthcare Integrated Technologies. The
There you
stock
go.
ticker was HITC. Now
Yeah.
it's SSGC, and it's Safe Space Global is the
Okay.
company. Yeah.
Well, there's the article that I read. The CEO says that your network, Justin's network, will be instrumental. So obviously instrumental to the success of whatever funds you're trying to raise for them to help them hit their goals. So who's the most unexpected, heavy hitter in your contact in your phone right now? Who's the most, notorious person you have in your cell phone right now that you could call and they'd pick up?
Mm, probably can't say actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give us one you can say.
You know who's been a surprising big investor in like everything's my dad. Like
Okay.
he's been showing up for everything, which is great to see. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean there's people that are consistent in things, and there's some people just write like one big check. You know, the biggest single check I've gotten is 1.2 million from somebody. I wouldn't want me to drop their name,
Sure. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, the safe space raise was incredible. It was my first time raising private capital into a public company, which is very interesting because you have something called a volume weighted average price, which resets every 30 days, right? And that's when you're doing a private round in a public company, that's what you raise it off of. So
Yeah.
we went and did our friends and family round in January this year. We needed to raise 6 million, not because the company, let's say, needed the money. Like there's no debt on the business at all. Founders funded everything. It's just we want to uplist onto the New York Stock Exchange, and you have to check all these boxes. One of them is a couple years of burn rate. So that's why we raised that capital, just to put the cash on the balance sheet. But we had so much demand for it because we were raising at the 10 cents volume weighted average price, and the stock had moved up that month. So there was an arbitrage opportunity there, and we pulled in 10 million real quick, and had to cut the raise off and start turning people away.
Interesting. So are you pretty in tune then with what's happening in the markets right now in the stocks?
Very, yeah.
What do you got any predictions for us? What do you think is going to happen in the stock market in the next, 60, 90 days?
It's I was looking at some statistics this morning actually, and valuations are just out of control, stretched.
Yep.
Uh, Especially relative to all these other metrics. I mean, real estate to me is the biggest problem we have right now.
Yeah.
On the commercial side, I mean, delinquencies on commercial real estate now are higher than 2008. And all these banks, I'm in a bunch of real estate deals that aren't doing so well, that the banks are working with us. We're kicking the can down the road,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like with recent data, with inflation softening, the jobs reports are getting revised lower and lower, backdated. I think we will get 3 rate cuts into the end of the year, and that might be what saves the commercial debt that needs to get readjusted. But I mean, small businesses that need to refinance debt, I mean, it's pretty scary, and it's definitely slowing the economy down. I don't know if you've seen the numbers out of Vegas, but like discretionary spending is really taking a turn.
Yeah.
So I think you can have this sort of recessionary, pressure, and stocks still do really well at the same time. So I
It's a
don't
weird
see,
phenomenon.
yeah, I mean, it's just like Nvidia and these high flyers. I mean, how far can these valuations go? They just keep going up. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Will there be another correction soon? Probably. I mean, but look at the one we had a few months ago. I mean, it literally down 10. Now we're up 10% on the S&P year to date. It's a very
Oh,
resilient market, regardless of the rate situation. So if rates do start coming down, I just don't see how you get a big correction in stocks.
yeah. Well, I think we're only ever one tweet away from a market crash.
Yeah, but like
You
those
know what
types
I
of
mean?
events that are emotional, they get bought. They get bought hard, and like it
Yeah,
comes right back.
yeah. No, it's totally insane. I'm actually trying to sell a couple properties in Louisiana right now, and they've been on there for too long, and we just reduced prices because I think that's one thing that I've noticed. Let's talk, the housing market, right, for individuals in Florida right now. There's in the part of Florida that I'm in. I mean, people are dropping their home prices by hundreds of thousands of dollars. I messaged this one individual about a property that he had for sale. He was asking, 7 million, and he just like, please somebody make me an offer. And I said 3.5, and he sends me a private DM message. He's like, I'll take 5 for it right now. And so everybody's kind of a little bit desperate to sell, including myself in a way. I'm not desperate, but I'd love to get rid of these properties. So I think I would love to see the interest rates go down because that would spark some, hopefully, some purchasing frenzy and get everybody's, back into the buying mode. Hopefully, so I really hope that you're right about those 3 interest rate cuts, but we'll see. I know Trump said, I know Trump says that he wants the interest rates cuts, but I kind of think he might just be bullying the Fed chair, just knowing that he can't do what he wants him to do, but he just has to bully him. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense to you at all?
Yeah, I think he's putting public pressure on him. I mean, Powell's stuck in a pretty tough situation, right? Because it looks like he's going to pivot and lose some credibility here. Which, I mean, I'm like, please, Jerome, please, like,
Yeah.
can you, like, we've got a lot of debt that needs to be refinanced. It'll help a lot of people on the bottom who, are, single family type investors, small multi people like that. That's who this really helps. And then
Yeah.
you just like, I always wonder, the big lobby, the big funds, there's billions of dollars that are sitting in cash right now in these gigantic funds that are waiting to buy all this
Hmm.
commercial real estate when it crashes. And it's like, who wins here? Does the little guy win and get interest rate cuts, or does the Fed just almost like sometimes like from the conspiracy perspective, it's like, are they going to do it on purpose so the big guys can just swallow it all up?
I think it is 100%. Like, I'm a libertarian at heart too. I'm like little government, big freedom. You know what I'm saying? And just everybody can do what they want. Just leave me alone. Let me do my thing.
Exactly. That's
And
exactly how I feel.
yeah, like I really don't care, dude. Just leave me alone. And I don't want to pay a lot of taxes. But yeah, I think when I think about politics, I think it's just like you and your boys. Like you guys are friends, and you guys are working out a deal, and you want to help your friends out. And you know that he's going to scratch your back, you scratch his back, and I don't think anything changes in politics. Everybody can get in front of a camera and pretend to be righteous, but I think it's just like they're just humans. That's how people act. You know, so it's just people with more money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, more money, more influence. It's just the system isn't fair, and you can cry about it, or you can play the ball as it lies. Like that's just a fundamental thing. People that complain never get anywhere. So you just have to accept reality and figure out how to win within that structure.
That's what I've always believed. Like, yeah, people will say, "Oh, it's not fair for the little guy." I was okay. Well, don't be the little guy then. Figure it out.
Yeah,
Like,
or do whatever it takes despite it not being fair.
yeah, and yeah, you can't always play by the rules. I don't know. We'll leave it at that. So let's switch gears a little bit. We've talked a lot of finances and funds and a whole bunch of confusing stuff. Let's break it down to some simpler topics. I know that you have a social media company. I notice you have over 100,000 followers on Instagram, and a good online social media presence. And like you'd mentioned earlier, a couple years ago you only had 700 followers. So what did you do to flip the switch with your social media? How did you go from a couple hundred followers to over 100,000 followers in just a few years? What did you do?
Yeah, a lot of different things. Number one is hire somebody who had already done it and not question the methods and just trust the process. It's the number one problem I have with people on the way into our marketing business is
Yeah.
they just have a tough time, and I'm generalizing, but a lot of people have a tough time trusting a process and just don't realize how insulting it is to try, tell someone who's already done it like, no, but what about this and this way? I'm like, fine, go do it your way. I don't even know why you're talking to me then, you know?
Yeah.
But that's what I did. I took the blueprint from Cody Kearns. We hired celebrities, influencers to distribute my content. I went all in on creating the content. I'm showing up every single day in my stories. So there's a work ethic behind this thing and their strategy. It's two things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then, okay, now my brand's established enough. I've done some influencer campaigns with celebrities that I have 20, 30,000 followers. Now I can go to DM outreach strategies to get on to big podcasts, to big shows, leverage other people's audiences, collaborate that content. Now it's going out to millions of people across other platforms that are collaborating with me. And that's how you grow a brand.
Yeah.
So that's what made it take off. That's how I raised the $10 million the first year. It was through social media, going on other people's shows, and then leveraging those high-end relationships. What else can we do together? Do you have any in-person events I can come to and speak at? Right? Like those are the things that are different about me than most people who do social media. Most people think it's create content, spam the platform, my job's done. Like
Yeah.
it's just, that is not the game. That's called spam.
So you mentioned some obviously work ethic. You either have it or you don't. You do the work or you don't do the work. You record the content or you don't, right? But the strategy piece that you had mentioned, I think maybe you described it, but can you speak more, on your stories? Like what is your strategy on your social media?
Yeah, so the content I want to be all stage type content, meaning when people meet me from my content, I
Mm-hmm.
want them to meet me from an elevated status. And it is what it is. It's just psychology. If
Yeah.
you have your first interaction with somebody and they're speaking on a stage or they're being interviewed on a podcast and you're looking at it from the and it's the side type content, not me looking in the camera talking to you, there's an
Yeah.
element of respect and status that's established when you meet someone in that
Yeah.
frame. So
Sure.
that's how all the content was designed, and it really matters. And then 2 stories a day is the sweet spot. I notice when I go to 3, 4 or more, like the views just kind of tank. But you have to show up every day because the way it works is when someone's watching your story and they're into it, like the algorithm knows that, and now your little bubble goes to the front of the line. So when those people get on Instagram every day, who are they seeing? You. They're clicking you again and again. You take a day off and your circle's not at the front. Guess what? Somebody else is there that they start watching. You lose that viewer, right? So
Mm.
it's a follow up system in a way. Every time I meet someone in person, hey, what's your IG, right? A business
Yeah.
card goes to die. A contact card, like you forget in 5 minutes. But if I can get you to follow me on IG, now you're going to get followed up on every day until it's
Yeah.
time for us to do some work together.
That makes a lot of sense. So what sort of content do you post on your stories? What's the thought process? That you having breakfast, going for a walk? Like what are you posting?
Yeah, I think when it comes to stories, it's just living out loud. This is the most important thing. So whatever's going on in your life, just show it. People are watching your journey. They're interested in you. You don't want to get there's 3 main buckets. You don't want to get too heavy in a single one, right? You got your business and your work and your offers, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
you've got, your hobbies, the things that you're interested in, the fun stuff you do. And then you got your family, right? So like you got these 3 buckets. Like for me, it's my wife and the dogs. Like you're going to see that content probably every third or fourth story. You're going
Yeah.
to see, a reel that's being posted as content shared. You're going to see me at an event with somebody taking a picture, or, like it's going to be a mix of content, but it's really whatever I'm doing that day is what you're going to see. Right. So like yesterday I flew to San Diego, did a show, flew back to Vegas all in one day. I had a Google Knowledge panel and a press bundle as an offer up after, the personal stuff I was doing that day.
Mm.
Like it's stuff like that, just living out loud and just showing people what your life is. And don't get complexed about it. Like you drive a nice car and you love cars, show the car. Anybody who's not into car content, like probably not your person anyways, but you'll
Yeah.
strengthen the audience. Like whatever you believe in, whatever your principles are, the more you can be very transparent about who you are authentically on social media, the more you build a tribe of people who are going to resonate with you. And that's what you need to focus on, not who's not going to like it. Like they were never going to do business with you anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. Focus on your little cult of people who like you and what you believe in, love the ones that love you.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. So, with your overall strategy here on social media, we get the picture of that now, but what is, what's the end goal? for all this work on social media and thought process that goes into it, like what are you working towards? What do you want to get out of your social media, I guess?
Yeah, for me, it's a freedom engine because once you build a personal brand, you never have to worry about a relationship or making money or everything can go to shit. And when you have an established network or you have a big presence, I could launch a new offer tomorrow and figure out how to make some money. So it's very empowering, and it's also a lifestyle by design. Like I didn't want to have a big business with infrastructure where I had to sit in an office every day again. Like I just didn't want that. So that was the vision of, okay, I'm going to create this brand first, right? Everybody does this backwards. They want to like do the thing and then create the social media. It's like, no, you are the brand, right? I
Yeah.
started selling food with my brand. Then it was health coaching. Then it's raising capital. Now it's marketing services. It's all these different things. The brand evolves with you, and it will remonetize. It will whatever. But I mean, to me, I I don't even speculate on where it's going to take me because I just show up relentlessly with an open mind looking for opportunity every day. And that's what's led to everything I've done. It wasn't like I was looking for that specific thing. It's just I understand that everything is a people game. And the more people I can reach, the more people I can talk to, the more opportunity exists in the future.
Fair enough. So you just want to be known is kind of what it is. You want to have friends and be known and have opportunity, basically, I guess, is your end goal. You're not targeting like one specific type of person.
No,
Or
and
are you?
and you make a great point though about friends and stuff. Like by building this brand and getting in these rooms, like now, like the people I hang out with are just it's so much fun. These people are doing incredible things. You get to have incredible experiences. Like a lot of people be like see the things that I'm doing, and it looks like a highlight reel, and it kind of is, but it's like a lot of times it's some other wealthy person that's like putting on this stuff, right? And it looks like
Yeah.
I'm just like a big spender, and I'm really not.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I totally get that. It is nice to know people and have friends who are, doing well like how you're doing well. Or like who are doing better than you even. You know what I mean? And not because you want to mooch off them or anything, but just because like good minds think alike. You have more relatability with people who are thinking and doing the same things that you're doing and put on same types of things. So that's interesting. So kind of to circle back around to my question, the answer is you don't really have a specific person you're looking for. You're just looking for people who like you. Is that fair?
Anybody and everything, right? I look at the people thing in three buckets. You've got people that are beneath you in the food chain that you need to show up for and help and pour into. Then
Mm-hmm.
there's the people who are on your level. These are the people that you can do business with, that you can refer, you can leverage. And then there's a third of your time you want to spend with people that are way further along with you in the journey. And
Yeah.
if I'm a little biased to one, it's that one. I spend most of my friends are more successful than me, and that's a
Sure.
really cool thing. You know, it'll complex you sometimes because you just can't carry your weight with some of these people, right? Like
Yeah.
flying in on a private jet, like I'm just not there yet, right? Like
Yeah. 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 For real.
like I'm just not and I know I'm just not like this. Like I just wouldn't do it, but I'm just not going to spend 5 grand on a bottle just because I can. But it's kind of fun to hang out with people who do. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to try that $5,000, but whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I took a trip to the Bahamas last week, and we did like a semi-private charter plane. It wasn't very expensive. And then on the way out, leaving the Bahamas, we're waiting in like the little private charter airport for our plane to come around. And then a group of people come in and they're flying out on a G4. And like I've got like a little turboprop that we're flying out on. And so it's like, dude, it's like even if you think you're doing good, there's always somebody who's just absolutely crushing it and killing it and just making your dreams look like, oh, that's nice. Like, so it's, you can't compare, you just have to enjoy where you're at.
That's a
And
huge principle.
yeah, because there's always somebody with a bigger plane, better car, longer yacht, whatever it is, there's always something bigger and better. So if you had to start your social media brand all over again, you went down to zero, Instagram went away, and there's a new platform that works just like it, what would you do, the first, month to grow your brand?
Well, I'd take my archive of content and absolutely pound the platform.
Well,
Um,
let's say you don't have the content. You're starting at zero. You're zero on social media. No content. You have nothing.
yeah,
They,
I would pick up this phone and I would go to selfie mode and I would use the in-app editor. I wouldn't do anything fancy, and I would just pound it with content, and then I'd find out, what celebrities, influencers, big pages that I could, spend money collaborating with to distribute my content. Like that's the thing that people, the difference between me and most people on social media that are trying to do this is that I'm not guessing or hoping that my content is going to perform. I am putting money behind it to make sure it performs.
so
And
you're boosting a lot of your posts or putting the
everything,
ad spend on. Okay.
everything. And that's something people really miss. And the big guys on social media just won't talk about it. They all spent a shit ton of money building their brands. Like
Yeah.
there's nobody who built a gigantic brand that didn't put money behind it in some way. They all did it in different ways, but it takes capital to really stand out. This is not a just. I mean, of course, there's unicorn examples, but it's like going pro in social media 100% organically is harder than becoming a professional athlete.
Hmm. Gotcha. So how much money would you say you've spent on, just social media, ad spend in your career?
Well, I don't really spend a lot of money on ads, like almost none,
Or
because
boosting posts, however you want to classify it as.
yeah, but I think it's important to distinguish this because,
Okay.
giving Meta the money is a lot more expensive for the results than, giving influencers, you know, for a paid collaboration or whatever.
Mm, okay.
Like it's more of a guerrilla marketing approach. I
Okay.
know some people that are just going to pound the boost button on their stuff and spend a bunch of money with Meta. I think you should do a blend of both of these things, right? One's not, you know, the way, but I've probably spent since day one on my brand, all encompassing, ooh, I don't know, 50 to 100 grand.
Okay. Fair enough. And you'd mentioned something I didn't really think about. You spent money on doing, paid collabs with higher status people on social media, basically. You've done a lot
Yeah.
of that? Okay.
Yeah, like we do big celebrities at Kearns Marketing probably once a quarter. We've
Hmm.
got one coming up with Floyd Mayweather, right? So
Oh,
imagine
that's
Floyd, yeah, like imagine Floyd Mayweather puts up a post saying, and he's giving away something for free, right? Hey, I'm going to give away all these, like all the signed memorabilia, but if you want to be entered to win, you got to go follow my buddy Justin, right? What does
mhm.
that do for my brand? 30, 40,000 followers, probably over a 2 week period, will come into
Yeah.
my brand by seeing that, right? So,
Yeah.
we've done Khloe Kardashian, we've done Cardi B, all these different celebrities that those are the big ones. But every month we put together smaller campaigns with celebrities that have 1 million to 5 million followers, where we can usually grow an account by 10 to 20,000 with these methods. And they're real people, right? And all these people that are shooting themselves in the foot, they're like, I don't buy followers. I don't this. It's like, yeah, that you're thinking about like buying bots from China. That's not what we're doing. Like we're
Yeah.
leveraging real brands to bring real people into your brand.
That's a very good distinction, actually, because yeah, most people think, oh yeah, you're paying money, you're buying followers, but you're not. You're paying money for exposure to real followers. You know,
Yeah. Call it
that's
whatever
interesting.
you want. The,
Yeah,
the person that questions it on the way in, again, is the person that is losing perpetually because they're looking at the truth. I am the truth. There is, what, $23 million of revenue now in the last 3 years through this brand. And you want to question something? Like, how much have you driven through your Instagram? Even if I told you, go buy bots, that's the way to do it, you should just do it because it worked for me. It'll probably work for you. But like, everybody's got ideas and they want to question everything, and they just spin their wheels and just fail perpetually.
yeah, I get it. It's a fear of loss, fear of being taken advantage of, fear of being scammed. A lot of fears. Everybody's got fears, but yeah, I guess you just got to kind of set those aside. And like you said, don't be afraid to lose the money. Just learn the lesson, I guess, good or bad. You know, Interesting.
Yeah, if you haven't been scammed, like you just haven't really tried hard enough. Like I just don't know anyone more successful than me that doesn't have a bigger loss than me or a bigger version of like how they got scammed or defrauded. Like they've all been through it. It's just part of the game. If you think you're going to avoid it, like it just means you're not trying to actually do anything big.
So we're kind of run out of time here, but I got one last little question, or maybe one or two here. But speaking of scamming, like what's the biggest, scam that you've seen or been taken by? Do you have any that come to mind?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I've lost a lot of money on like small things, like trying a marketing company that runs off with your 10 grand retainer, or and something I've learned from getting scammed is like, and people that are like about contracts, it's like if we're talking about less than $1 million, like it's gonna cost you more to litigate than what you'll recover anyway. So most of the time people get away with the smaller things. You just gotta write it off and move on. But the biggest one was in one of our funds. Part of our allocation was in a brokerage that ended up defrauding over 30,000 people in 34 countries. They said they went down or lost liquidity, whatever, but essentially, $12 million stolen from us. And, that was heavy because you've got investors, right? Total disaster. But, we litigated, took about 2 years. We have 6 judgments against, or settlements with all 6 executives and entities that we litigated against, and now we're exercising judgments right now to recover those funds. So that's a heavy situation when you're talking
That's
about
a lot of stress right there.
Oh yeah, yeah, $12 million stolen's a
Yeah.
big deal. And but on the bigger scheme, the total fraud's around $1 billion of principal, and then
Wow.
several billion in account values. So some of the biggest celebrities and biggest names in the space, we're defrauded as well. So we're definitely not alone in it, but it's just, you can do all your due diligence. You can vet till the end of time. You can hire attorneys. You can hire banks, liquidity providers, every check possible, background checks. Like, you can do all this stuff, and something can go wrong. Like, all it takes is one person to decide that they're going to do something nefarious, and it could be the first time they do it. It could, so I think no matter how much due diligence you do, just understand there is risk in everything, and that's
Yeah.
okay. It's actually a
Mhm.
good thing. If you've never taken a big loss like that, I hope it happens. Like, and I know that's really weird to say. I used to like feel so bad for people that like lose their business or whatever, but after going through that, there is no better value than going through something really hard like that, having to look in the mirror, you figure out who you are, and then have to show up through something like that. The person you become on the other side, that's a deadly individual who's going to build something 10 times bigger. So, I
Yeah.
want that for everyone. If you haven't had a big loss yet, like, try harder.
Definitely. So one question that came up, I was thinking about that, was that the 12 million bucks that, you guys got scammed out of, essentially, you had investors. That was not your pocket. That was not out of your pocket. That was from your investors, right? So did you lose those investors as, future clients, or did they understand, or how'd that pan out?
Oh, huge mix of all of it. I think one thing that really helped the good faith was that us, on the operating side, we had a ton of our own money invested in it. It hurt us worse than everybody else. I mean,
Yeah.
family, right? I mean, we're talking 7 figures invested from myself and my family that went as part of that. And same thing with my partners. Like, they had friends, family, their own money, lots of money in there. So and that's like a due diligence question. How much money are the GPs putting in the deal, right? That's something someone would ask, and you would look at how much money we put in and be like, oh, this is as strong as it gets, right? So
Yeah.
all of us had complete faith that this was a good investment, a good thing to do.
So
And
yeah, that would make someone feel more comfortable. Like, you're putting your money where your mouth is. Like, I got skin in the game too, man, and it's more than you. So,
yeah, and like, I learned so much about just human beings through this process. Some people like are very emotionally regulated, understood it immediately, looked in
mhm.
with empathy from the perspective, like, I'm sorry you have to go through this, right? I'm the one who's got to call 60 investors. I'm the one who just lost all their active income and their passive investment in this thing, like they did, right? Most of
Yeah.
these people, like, yeah, it sucks to lose money, but like, you still have your job, you can still pay your bills. Like, I'm having a personal crisis while I have to still show up for all these people and operate through a business crisis. So
Yeah.
a lot of most people had a lot of respect for the situation. and judged us on how we handled it. We couldn't have been more aggressive. You know how easy it would have been to just say, the investment went bad. Here's a K1 for your losses. See you later. We didn't do that. We've been fighting for 2 years to get these people their money back. And when we do, because I'm very confident that we're going to, I think that will have been worth the 2 years of pain and suffering and no income, because they're going to be soldiers for life for everything else that I do. But there are a few people that no matter what, they're going to blame me. They'll take zero accountability for their big boy investment decision. And it is what it is.
Yeah. Investment equals risk.
Yeah.
There's a risk, man. Yeah. Risk free. What's that? A scam?
Exactly.
You know? So, okay. Well, cool, man. I'll ask you one last question and we'll let you run off of here. We've been going for about an hour. One last question I want to ask you is what is your goal? What is success at the end of the day? What are you working towards? What's that look like for you?
Yeah, for me, I've kind of calibrated, what I want out of life. Obviously, I'll never keep dreaming and charging for more wherever that goes, but I'm less concerned with fixed targets and outcomes because you can't control them anyways. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking for complete freedom. I want to have, my current lifestyle in passive income, instead of having to have the active side. Not that I would ever quit on the active side, but I don't need more houses. I don't need more cars. I don't need more lifestyle. I just want more freedom and more time to spend on the things that I enjoy doing. So really, that's really all I'm after is, a few more M's and then autopilot.
Freedom.
But I think it won't be that I won't be driven. I'm not trying to sit on a beach and have margaritas. I just want to, be able to focus on just the projects I want to and be more selective.
I feel that 100%. Yeah. It's crazy because you have to find, am I still there?
Oh, you're back.
Weird. Camera went out at the end there. I don't know why. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, I don't think there's really a right or wrong answer for, how many M's you got to have because it's just kind of the lifestyle that you want to live. So, but anyways, well, I think my camera's telling me it's time to end this thing. So I appreciate having you on. Guys, will have the links to all of his socials in the podcast description. This will be uploaded to YouTube. You'll find clips of us on social media. Justin, just a shout out for everybody. What's your social media handles?
Yeah, I'm easy to find. There's only one of me in the world with a last name like this, but it's at Justin Freshdat. Instagram's probably the best place to get a hold of me. I answer all my own DMs and I'm on there every day. So it's at Justin Freshdat.
Awesome. Well, Justin, I appreciate you hopping on the podcast with us. Guys, tune in for the next one. Hope you enjoyed listening.